It has been a minute since I've been on camera. I had 2 pretty chunky vlogs that I was going to upload eventually, and they were from the latter half of 2025. Honestly, as I was looking through the clips, I could not, like, you could tell I wasn't feeling it. You could tell I was stressed, and not in a fun way. Not that I'm trying to like edit out the journey for you guys, but they were just kind of boring and like not contributing anything to the greater scope of my publishing journey. So I gave up on those, and I haven't been on camera in a while, and that's it. My name is Lindy Jung. I am a soon-to-be traditionally published science fiction and fantasy author. My debut novel, MOTHSBLOOD, comes out this fall in October from Bloomsbury in the US and Del Rey in the UK. It is a dark academia adult fantasy about an ambitious alchemist attending alchemy school in Paris. In case you missed my little like shorts unboxing video, this is my UK proof, which is also called an ARC in the US, and this is an advanced reader copy. This went out to a bunch of different reviewers. I actually also gave some to my friends because I got a couple copies for myself, and so now people are reading this book. A select few, but still like actual human people with eyeballs and hearts and brains are reading this book, and it's an incredibly surreal feeling, and I'm trying not to think about it. But I do want to make it known that this is not the official UK cover. Proofs in the UK have their own fancy, special, unique covers, and this is not what the final book is going to look like, although it is very beautiful and very shiny and fun. After that little bit of a tangent, welcome or welcome back if you are one of my wonderful returning viewers who I appreciate so much. Today's video is a bit different as we are hurtling closer and closer to this book's publication date. I am trying to do stuff that doesn't come naturally to me, which is mainly like introspecting about my process, but also about these kind of broader themes and concepts of my life and of my publishing journey. I have this realization almost every year, and it's that I don't personally introspect too much, and I'm not very good about putting voice to my emotions or what I'm thinking even. So we're starting here, we're starting small. And today's video is specifically about my goals and ambitions about publishing. I am going to be extremely unusually transparent in this video, partially because I've been thinking a lot about ambition in this industry. If you aren't super familiar, publishing, especially like traditional publishing, it's impossible not to notice how self-deprecating authors can be. I say this with love. I say it with love. I'm also an incredibly self-deprecating person, but also specifically so many authors are afraid to like speak their goals out loud, especially if it's something that feels incredibly out of their control, like landing on the New York Times bestseller list, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that this is a goal that every author has, even if they're not willing to say it out loud because it feels like a jinx. And this does come from the fact that like publishing as an industry feels like a greater power. It feels like this unknowable deity that we have to like sacrifice lambs to and just give our best work to and hope that something happens. So much in publishing is out of the author's control, so it does feel dangerous sometimes, almost like a jinx. Not like anyone's gonna come to your house and kidnap you, but it does feel precarious to have ambition and to speak that ambition out loud. However, the people that I notice this the most in are absolutely women and other types of marginalized people. Like, obviously I'm Asian American and a woman and queer and neurodivergent. Wow, I really am this administration's worst nightmare. It's these groups that are categorically like the most afraid to show ambition, to seem like they're too greedy or asking for too much. And I just am so over this. It is 2026. Let us speak on what we want. Let us pursue it unabashedly. Let us be ambitious, openly so. So yeah, that's kind of the thesis of this video. I am mostly going to be talking about myself because when do I not? But specifically, I'm going to talk about how ambition has been so helpful for me throughout my journey toward publishing my debut, and also my ambitions for the future. Because why the heck not? Why should I not talk about what I want out of my publishing career? Because if I didn't want anything out of it, why would I be doing it? Okay, I kind of came in swinging, maybe a little hot on that one, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about this. So obviously ambition is very much at the center of today's discussion, but before I got into all of that, I wanted to touch base and talk real quickly about one of the resources that has helped me get to this point as a writer. Mila Goldberg describes herself as a novelist, mammal, and concerned citizen. Her Skillshare class, Creative Writing Bootcamp, Start a Brand New Story, takes you through the journey of story ideation. While brainstorming and developing new ideas are often the most fun and fulfilling parts of the writing process, they are also the point at which I and many other writers find themselves getting lost the most. Mila's class guides writers
at any stage of their journey through the process and helps streamline some of the stickier bits to develop a handful of scattered ideas and inspiration into a proper story concept. She also very much focuses on the human side of writing, which I really enjoy. Mila's class, of course, is not the only one. Skillshare is home to thousands of classes on everything from writing to publishing to building your own website. And you can try all of these out today without paying because Skillshare is offering a full month for free. And you know that we love free stuff here. The first 500 people to use the link in the description box or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today.
Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. We are going to start off by talking about how ambition is actually a necessary ingredient for success. And when I say ambition, I don't necessarily mean just career ambition or financial ambition. Like, we all have those goals and dreams of getting a 7-figure deal and getting to quit our day jobs and become super famous or whatever. But I also am referring to creative ambition. For example, like wanting to write the best possible epic fantasy novel you can, wanting to write something that has not ever existed before. Maybe you want to write a steampunk with whales in it. You could be the first. Or just wanting to write a book that makes someone feel something, makes readers cry. They're all different kinds of creative ambitions, but these don't necessarily get the label of ambition as frequently. However, I still do think that they are ambitious. Because here's the thing, you often hear stories being called ambitious, and while I do think that's really difficult to quantify, and it kind of depends on who's consuming the media, whether or not that label gets attached to the project, I also kind of feel like you know ambitious media when you see it. Whether it's a movie or a TV show or a book or a magazine article, you know or can tell when the creative mind behind it really strove to do something different, to just take a big swing, or to hit a specific point or theme or social commentary. Even if an author's ambition doesn't quite land, I do think those big swings are necessary and important because when they do hit, they really hit. And I will say that of all the media that I've consumed in my life so far, all the ones that have stuck with me have been those big swing pieces of TV, film, literature. It's never the safe thing. It's never the Avatar 3s of the world that stick with you. Although the Fire Lady, maybe I should take that back. It's going to be the Everything Everywhere All at Onces. It's going to be the Jade Cities, The Name of the Wind, A Memory Called Empire. Personally, as someone who primarily writes in a genre that is like notoriously saturated, which is fantasy across all age categories, it's kind of difficult not to notice that my preferred genre is in the process of developing same face syndrome. I say this with love and also with the acknowledgement that the books that are coming out currently at a rapid speed in fantasy spaces, they have value, they make people feel things. They are not necessarily for me, but that's okay. But they are also absolutely a product of the tropification of publishing in general. Like, how do we sell this in a quick bullet point list of tropes? How do we hook readers in with the marketing and not worry so much about the quality of the work? You know, I haven't read every single romantasy book from the past 2 or 3 years, and I'm sure that some, if not many of them, are ambitious, and I'm certain that all of them are very close to the author's heart. But that doesn't mean that it isn't kind of jarring to see a genre that up until like pretty recently, I think we had a good run from like the mid 2010s to the early 2020s where fantasy was just so ambitious. It was full of people trying different things, authors from different cultures, non-Western backgrounds. We're getting to write books and worlds based off of their mythology, off of their cultural upbringing, and it was really cool. And now it just kind of seems like we're backsliding into sort of the same old, same old. And tropification specifically, I don't want to say it concerns me, but it has always been characterized to me by relying on the familiar, right? You're relying on familiar tropes. Everyone knows what like only one bed means, and you know what to expect from that scene. You know what grumpy and sunshine means. You're looking at familiar relationship dynamics. Honestly, like the settings of a lot of these books kind of read the same, sort of generic Western fantasy. Not all, but many. And again, there is nothing wrong with like stories that don't necessarily break the mold in a big way. I don't know. I don't want this to come across as a criticism of these authors or these books, but I do think that specifically when we're looking at what publishers are acquiring and what they're putting their focus and marketing emphasis on, I don't think it's necessarily like good for the arts to do this, to focus on tropification and trope marketing. I don't know, maybe it's just my bias because I'm an author and I want authors to be able to write weird stuff and ambitious stuff and take big swings and like grow as creatives and to see that progression through their body of work. And that absolutely is still there. There's so many great voices writing currently in fantasy, but it does feel a little bit isolating because I would definitely say that for myself, especially as I've been writing crypts, and Lord help me, for the past like 2 years, I've not been able to find a single comp for this book that isn't like 200 years old. And even then, those aren't fantasy books, so they don't quite work. I think that a lot of my ambition lies in like just novelty. I want to write new subgenres, mesh things together. I love genre blending, so I want to like mix things up in a way that is unique and speaks to me. I don't know if I'm going to achieve that, but I really, really enjoy trying. And it's absolutely where a lot of the joy of writing comes from for me as an author. So it's just kind of a bummer to feel those walls closing in, and even though I have my foot in the door with MOTHSBLOOD, feel like maybe there won't be a market for the types of stories that I want to tell and write in the future. And then, of course, that slides up and bumps up and causes friction against my other ambitions, which are very career focused. And that's a whole other section of the video, I guess. In short, I don't think ambition is a dirty word. I think that ambition is healthy for creatives, whether or not it's about making money or taking new strides as a creative. Ambition can absolutely push you to new extremes, which again is healthy for creatives. You want to push boundaries, you want to test yourself and not just write the same thing over and over again, because that's so boring. But also at the same time, ambition is what got me through a decade plus of rejections up until the publication of my debut novel. Ever since I was in 4th grade, I knew that I wanted to publish. I knew I wanted to publish traditionally. I started trying right then and there. And obviously, if I had just given up because my ambition wasn't strong enough to carry me through rejection after rejection after rejection, then I would not have a debut novel sitting on my desk. Which, by the way, it is so surreal that I have a physical copy of this book. It's bound, it's typeset, it's beautiful. I digress. Now I'm here, I'm sitting approximately 9 months out from my debut, and I'm kind of wondering, like, now what? Where is this ambition going to lead me next? I feel like I've been hearing a lot about post-achievement burnout lately, mostly because my social media algorithm knows me a little too well. Basically, I've been hearing about this feeling that some people or a lot of people get when they finally achieve a long-term goal, like something that's taken years and years and years to accomplish, and they just like basically get depressed because they don't have anything to strive for anymore. And I've been asked if I've been feeling that way now that I've accomplished, obviously, my childhood dream of publishing a book. I'm gonna keep holding it up because it's beautiful. And I honestly haven't. I would characterize my lifelong ambition as not just publishing a single book, but actually having a career as an author. Not necessarily as my only job or my sole career or like something that financially sustains me for the rest of my life, but I want to keep publishing books until I'm no longer able to, whatever that means. And I have a lot of smaller ambitions kind of loaded into that goal. So that's what we're going to talk about. As a whole, I would say that my ideal career involves me publishing a lot of different books in a lot of different categories, like a pretty steady stream of books with breaks here and there, trying to push myself to new heights with each subsequent release. For example, this is a standalone. Crypts is part of a duology. I've never really finished a series before, like I've never written a complete series before, so that's entirely new. The scope of that world is entirely new. Next up, I want to write in a new genre. After that, I want to write impossible to quantify. I still don't quite have the chops for it yet, like weird, folkloric, modern fairy tale, ghost story, generational trauma book set in the Midwest. I still have books under my belt that I absolutely know I do not yet have the chops to write, but I am going to get there, and I'm going to get good enough and develop the skills to write those stories and write them correctly and put what is kind of swimming around, marinating in my brain onto the page in a way that makes sense, hopefully. It's that excitement for like the projects that have yet to come that I think is like my main driver. It's incredibly exciting to think that I have so many stories stuffed in me that have yet to come out. I know I'm privileged in this sense. I know that not everyone has multiple books in them, but man, I am so excited to write and write and write for the foreseeable future. But let's talk about some secret career goals. And this is a no judgment zone. Like, I'm going to ask you guys to share your own secret career goals, writer aspirations in the comments below, and be ambitious, dream big, unlock all those secret desires that you have in your head and let them out. They don't have to stay hidden in there. You can manifest this stuff. Nothing bad is going to happen. I know that a lot of these probably are not going to happen for me in my lifetime or in the next couple years or whatever. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to work toward them and hope for them and be excited when they happen. So I don't have a timeline for any of these, obviously, but I just want to kind of go through the list of my author ambitions. Is that so wrong? I'm sorry. I'm like, the energy that I'm bringing to the camera today is kind of crazy. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for being here with me. Obviously, top of the list, I would really love to hit a bestseller list at one point. I would love to hit #1. I don't I don't know what, when, how that happens even, because every bestseller list functions a little bit differently. Like USA Today, I think, is pretty much based off of the cold hard numbers. It also is like 1 through 100. New York Times curated, Sunday Times, I think, is based off of cold hard numbers. Also, like getting featured on Indie Next or any sort of like indie book selling publication like that would be really cool. I love my indie bookstores. There are a ton in Madison. I love indie booksellers, and it's so important to me to like have that connection with them. Yeah, so I want to be a bestseller. I don't know. I just do. Another career goal is to write books that people are still reading in 10 to 20 years. Books do go out of print all the time. If they aren't selling, there's no point in continuing to print them. I would like at least some of my books to stay in print for long enough for people to be still buying and reading them 10, 20 years down the line. I think it'd be super cool to be 50 and have people still be reading MOTHSBLOOD. Obviously, I have no control over this, but I want to write enough books that it happens for at least 1 or 2 of them. Writing outside of my usual genre and doing it well. I want to write a rom-com. I watched People You Meet on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation, and then I went out and I bought the book immediately. I am enjoying this a lot so far. I'm actually trying not to read it too quickly because I want to use it as inspiration and kind of as like vocal training almost for a rom-com idea that I've had since high school that is finally feeling like it's ready to pop. That's how long the marination process is for some of these stories. But I want to write outside of the fantasy, sci-fi, horror space and write a really good rom-com that makes people cry, because the movie for this made me cry a lot. Meeting my heroes. I don't want to name anyone because that's kind of embarrassing, but I do have like author inspirations, people whose books I love, people whose, I don't want to say internet presence, but for some folks, like the advice that they've given online, the resources they provided for free online about publishing and querying have been incredibly invaluable to me. You know, like author communities are pretty close knit. There's like social media interactions and in-person events. Like I think it'd be super cool to go to more events and meet authors who I've looked up to for a long time. And I also think it would be very cool if they read my books. I would not make them, but it would be very cool. I would also like to win an award. Nothing fancy. I don't think I'm ever going to win a Nobel Prize. I don't write that kind of book, so I don't really care. I do kind of love like Hugo, Fire Awards, Locus Awards, Nebula, like that kind of sphere of speculative fiction awards. I don't think I've written something like MOTHSBLOOD in itself is not really enough of a fantasy book, I think, to qualify for that segment, but I do have some epic fantasy on the back burner that I'm like, this is my shameless, you know how movies are sometimes Oscar bait? My Hugo bait book. So down the line, hopefully one of my Hugo bait books will work. And I also would like to go on a global tour. I love travel. I think it would be so cool to travel in the capacity of being an author. I get summers off, so it wouldn't be like crazy. Obviously, in this like fantasy scenario, my publisher pays for every expense. Maybe I get like a credit card for it. I don't know. I would love to go on a global tour like a couple years down the line after I have maybe more books under my belt and people like care that I exist, and meet readers, be in conversation with other writers, just like have a good time gallivanting around the world. I would take Alex. He wouldn't like it, but I would still take him. I just think that'd be an incredibly cool experience, and I get so jealous in the best possible way of like authors who get to go on tours to Europe or through Canada or even through the States. That's so cool. That's the dream. I would also like to host more international writing retreats. I am currently hosting one. The signups close in just a couple weeks. In February, I think. I don't know the exact date, but I'm hosting a writing retreat in France with a wonderful company called Adventurer, and it's literally like 4 days in the French countryside in a historic manner. We're just gonna write and like do yoga and journal and creatively enrich ourselves and be in community. I'm also offering a critique package to every single person who attends. Like I will critique your whole book. I will get you ready for publishing, girl. No promises that you will actually get published, but that is coming up in March. Late March is when we are leaving. So if you're interested, please sign up sooner rather than later. There's just a handful of shared rooms and maybe like 1 or 2 private rooms left. It is going to be like the most amazing trip ever. I feel insane even thinking about it because France is obviously where MOTHSBLOOD is set. I haven't been back there since I lived there as a teenager, and it would be so special to do that, spend that time there in community. And I might even bring treats, not to bribe, but if you want an arc, you could come. So yeah, the link to that is also below. You know where to find it. But I do think that experience is going to be so special. Again, love travel, love meeting other writers and being in a community, and I would love to host another one of those in the future. Another ambition I have is like special editions. I am enamored by gorgeous, gorgeous art. I'm like a crow. I love pretty things. It's why I love jewelry and nail polish and like clothes. I'm not much of a book collector, but I would love to see art for anything I write, my characters, my worlds, everything like that. Like that is so cool. And seeing it in the context of like a special edition with sprayed edges, custom cover art, end papers, like all that fancy stuff. I can't say anymore, but it would be incredible. So seeing special editions for my books would be just absolutely a dream come true. On another note, seeing fan art of my books, like something I don't have to pay anyone to do, they just do it because they read the book and enjoyed it, or like fan merchandise, like a candle that is MOTHSBLOOD scented. Don't know what that would be, but it would be incredibly cool. The creativity you see coming out of bookish spaces, like from book fans, always astounds me. I recently got into nail polish, and there is a nail polish brand, like an indie nail polish brand, I think based in Minnesota, that does book themed nail polish collections. And I'm like, sign me up right now. If I had a nail polish collection for a book I'd written, I could actually, like, that would be it. That's my main ambition in life, I think. Not even joking, not a word of a lie. That's it. That's the dream. But in general, seeing that creativity come out of readers who are feeling inspired by something I've written would be so incredible. And as someone who sits here on YouTube and tries to help people, encourage them to be more creative and to write their books and stories and stuff. And as a teacher as well, there's so much value to me to be able to inspire creativity in others in whatever way that manifests. And then finally, my most pie in the sky insane one, because it kind of doesn't make sense for me, is to see some sort of like on-screen adaptation of something I've written. This is kind of a weird one for me because I don't really write stuff that translates well to screen. If you know me, you know that I'm in love with the written word. I think there's a lot of things that you can only do in books that doesn't necessarily translate well to visual media, especially when it comes to like introspection and just like describing crazy crap, which is a lot of what my fantasy worlds are, is just the most insane thing you've ever seen. I do have a couple projects that I want to write that would translate a little bit better to film and TV, and one in particular would make a really good sitcom. That is my other like pie in the sky ambition, is to have an adaptation that actually makes it to screen, because books do get picked up for film rights a lot and you sell those options, but they don't necessarily come to fruition. Film companies buy film option rights for books early so they can get them cheap, and then they hold on to them, and if the book does well, they might turn it into something, or they might not. But if it doesn't, they're just gonna hold on to the rights until they expire. It's a weird thing. But as someone who also like low-key wanted to be an actress when I was growing up, I can't act, but I think it would be very cool to also like screenwrite and be a part of that process as well, because I do find that world really fascinating. And I would get to go home. I would get to go home to Los Angeles. That's probably like my most out there one, is to see some sort of adaptation. I'm not particularly married to that one because that is so insane, and also a lot of adaptations turn out very bad, and I would rather have no adaptation than a bad adaptation. Now, to round this video off, I do want to circle back to something that I mentioned previously, and it is that sort of conflict, I guess, almost of interest between my ambitions as a creative and my ambitions as someone who is trying to make money off of my writing and do well and survive. I think it feels like there can be a lot of incongruity between the two. And as someone who is just starting out on their debut year, who hasn't had a book really release yet, and who doesn't know what the reception to my work is going to be by the general audience, if anyone's even going to buy it or like it, there's a lot of uncertainty there, for sure. A big part of what I'm going to grapple with as I continue to move forward is the necessity of writing things that will actually sell and do well and appeal to a broader and broader audience, and also staying true to my creative desires. In a way, although it is terrible a lot of the times and stresses me out 110% of the time, I think I am very lucky in that I do have a day job that I really like and that I can keep doing for a while. I don't necessarily need to rely on the whims of publishing and readers to survive and sustain myself and take care of myself financially. So I have a little bit of wiggle room to be creatively selfish and write what I want to write, at least for now. But, you know, there's always the chance that the next thing I write is too weird or too off, too ambitious maybe even, or it doesn't hit the right mark. I could just write a total flop, that could happen too, and it doesn't get picked up by my publisher, it doesn't do well, and then my reader trust diminishes because the book is bad. Like, there's always that chance that as I'm taking these big swings that I'm going to have a couple of misses. And for me, like, I don't really know what to do about that, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know how my values are going to change as I dive deeper and deeper into this industry, but consider this a kind of bookmark in my journey right now where I am saying pretty loudly and clearly that I want to write what I want to write. I'm not going to acquiesce to market demands, even if I am kind of picking and choosing projects based off of what I think might do a little bit better in the market or have a better chance of selling to my publishers. I'm still going to pick projects that I like and have wanted to work on for a while. That's where I'm at right now. Who knows what the future will hold? I think that there is a lot for me to learn about the publishing industry. I've had a really smooth go of it so far, and I haven't really bumped up into any friction since I sold my initial book, but that could change at literally any point. And at this stage, I can't really say for sure what the future holds for myself or for MOTHSBLOOD. I am not a future reader, a psychic, I guess you could say. I'm not clairvoyant. I don't know what's gonna happen. Literally anything. I've only successfully finished and sold and gone through the publishing rigmarole for one book, and it's my debut, and that really can make or break you in a lot of ways. But I know that my ambition will carry me through. Like, if this debut flops, I have a backup plan. If I need to change my name to a pen name, so be it. And I have a fantastic team at my back, and that makes this a lot easier, and it makes it a lot easier for me to kind of express my ambitions out loud after years of denying them. This was very therapeutic, if I'm being honest. Highly recommend that you express your own ambitions in the comment section below if you feel so inclined. As a reminder, I do have that trip coming up, so if you'd like to sign up, please do so. I would love to see you there, and it will be an absolute blast. That's pretty much all I've got for you today, so if you like this video, you know what to do. If you want to see more videos about my publishing and writing journey, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I plan to film a vlog next weekend. Maybe? I don't know. I plan to film a vlog at some point. I'm starting to slowly get back into my routine of like work and writing and getting stuff done. I feel a little bit better about everything. So either way, thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.